Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Black Belt Beauty Radio. So in today's episode, I want to drop you into some very empowered ideas around when you feel stuck, right? And you're kind of in this loop, this mindset that is keeping you from moving forward in your life, keeping you from feeling your best, keeping you from feeling like you're actually, progressing towards something of value. First of all, just sending you all love right now, right? And that's really what this episode is centered around. It's me dropping you into this energy of love and empowerment and really just sharing some ideas that I have. And the reason for this too is because there's just been some recent conversations, that have come up in my life, from individuals where, I'm able to really capture, where the stuckness is happening. And so it just inspired me to want to, jump on record here and share some ideas of what I think could be really supportive to you. Now, listen, you could be, there's just so many reasons why everyone is where they are, right? So I can't, individually go through and give you a, individualized prescription kind of thing. But these are just some kind of general thoughts that I want to share with you that I know are proven to be effective in my own life. They have been proven to work in my coaching practice. A lot of it is really centered around science, right? And so meaning like science-backed, evidence-based proof that, these ideas, these tactics can really make a difference to help you to get unstuck. First of all, let's just start with this fact that majority of our life, I think it's around 95% of our individual lives is being operated from our subconscious thinking, right? So you have the conscious and you have the subconscious, right? So a great way to think about this is like, the subconscious is you're in a car and you're, on a road trip or something with your best friend and, you're able to have a whole conversation with your best friend while you're actually driving the car too. So your subconscious is able to stay present with your best friend, right? In the moment, in that conversation, while your conscious, the conscious part of your mind is driving the vehicle, right? Knowing when to brake, when to push the gas, signal, all the things, right? So, but the majority of our day-to-day life is being operated by the subconscious, right? And so the interesting thing about the subconscious is that there's programs that get installed in there from a very young age, up to like 7 years old, from what I've learned, is when these programs start to come in and really, they essentially shape a lot of, what we would how we end up moving through our lives with, right? And a lot of times these programs are not serving us, right? They're things that we pick up from family, from the environment, from, anything that's really influencing us in that time, in that period of our life. But in general, like this whole concept is just something really important to understand, that so much of your day-to-day life and your thinking and how you're moving is actually coming from your subconscious, patterns and the programs and paradigms in there, right? So, for me, it's really interesting because I'm really fascinated on consciousness, right? And I talk about it. It kind of dips in and out in certain parts of podcasts, but it's really, something that I just came to recently, just doing, the time that I spend with myself every day, morning, evening, introspective. I don't want to call it work, but it's just introspective time for me, where I love to think deeply and in layers. And I was thinking about consciousness, and I was thinking about how, I didn't realize this necessarily at all, actually. I wasn't conscious of this. But, when I meet people The first thing that I'm actually assessing is the level of consciousness that the individual is operating from. Now, again, I'm not consciously thinking that. I'm not like, oh, like scanning your consciousness. But that's actually when I zoom out and I'm thinking about this as I was just recently. I was like, fuck, that's actually what you're doing. Because the higher the consciousness of the person, the higher the character, the behaviors, the habits, right? Higher consciousness individuals they don't subscribe to kind of lower frequency, actions, behaviors, any of that, right? So if you're speaking to someone who lives from a higher state of consciousness, um, those are going to be really high quality fucking conversations, right? For the most part. So in thinking about consciousness and thinking about awareness, and it really goes into a lot of my work where, when I can really pick up very quickly when someone is operating from a fucking program that's stuck and they're not conscious of it. They're not conscious that it's like this, it's just this fucking record that just keeps spinning and spinning. And you're getting, a lot of that stuckness is coming from this loop that is your mind keeping you in that loop, right? And until you can actually become conscious that that's actually what's happening, it's going to be really hard to make a difference, to change things, right? So again, let me be clear. I'm not talking about like you going through, some challenge that, was put upon you, or there's just so many different forms of challenge. I just want to be clear that what I'm talking about here right now is you, as in you, anybody who may be in a state where you feel like you're just stuck, like you can't break from this certain energy within yourself and this kind of pattern of thinking that's showing up as part of your life. Like maybe you don't realize it's a pattern of thinking. Maybe you do, but there's just certain aspects of your reality that just keep showing up and you're like, fuck, why is this constantly happening? What I want to point out here is, number one is that consciousness factor, like this awareness around what's actually taking place. And until that actually happens, it's going to be very hard to make a change. This is why doing this self time is so fucking valuable. Because I'm going to tell you right now, like, if you're not actually investing time every day to be with yourself, capital SELF, and just be in conversation with yourself. I love journaling for that reason, because you actually, it creates a different experience with this conversation of self, right? But meditation is also so powerful for this too. I mean, I love and use both in my life. But if you're not doing this work doesn't mean heavy and hard to me. It's just this, it's a beautiful expression in this term, in this way. But if you're not taking the time, to do this work with yourself, it's going to be really hard to capture where you are captured by your subconscious with a program or a paradigm, some kind of script, that is limiting you, that's holding you in a pattern that doesn't fucking feel good and isn't serving you in your life, right? So it's hard a lot of times for people to want to sit with themselves, to want to face themselves. People like that, like, oh, I'm busy, 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 busy. I fucking hate that word. FYI. It's so annoying. It's so boring. As a logophile, which means lover of words, as a writer, as a speaker, I'm so passionate about words. I always say words cast spell. I hate busy, because what does that even mean? We're all busy and then we die. Who cares? You can be busy doing a lot of things that don't mean shit, right? So I know I'm aggressive and passionate, but again, it's because I'm a very deep thinker. So I don't just sit on the surface of words or thoughts or ideas. I like to dig deeper and do the why work, right? That's how I frame it, the why work. So, I understand that it might be difficult to do this work where you actually investigate self and go in, do this introspective work. And especially from a non-judgmental place, talk about this all the time. We'll forever be talking about it, not from a self-judgment place, but from what I call the student lens, right? Take off the judgment lens, put it over there, if I can throw it away. Put on the lens of being a student, because the student is always curious. The student is open. The student is just trying to gain information to understand. And by the way, this is all just fucking information. Everything in life is information, right? Your information, I'm information. This podcast is information, the sun's information, food's information, the book's information. Like, it's all fucking information, right? What we do with it makes a difference, right? How we, first of all, the information that we choose, and then also the information that is coming at us that we don't necessarily choose. Like, how do we move with that information? And that honestly is what I believe essentially separates us as individuals. It's those two things: the information that we are choosing to put into ourselves, right? And also how we move through and with the information that comes at us by way of life, right? So when you're doing this introspective work that I'm talking about, the power play is to do it from the perspective of a student, so that you can just start learning, more about you, right? There's a big difference of doing this work where you're facing yourself and facing a challenge, versus like, I'm going to just talk about problems, right? That just, to me, holds you in the pattern. You're just like giving more life to it. It's like you're fertilizing that shit, versus like trying to really feel into a solution. And it's going to be hard to feel into a solution if you're not able to actually give yourself the space to investigate what's actually not working, or, you know what I mean? Like, what's off, right? So I want to invite you right now, actually, to either start just even fucking 10 minutes a day, taking time to sit with yourself, to journal, to ask yourself some questions, to investigate. I mean, even learn more about subconscious thinking. I think it's so powerful. It's so important, the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, because the more that you can elevate your consciousness, and the more that you move through your day-to-day life with this consciousness, like being consciously aware of what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and how it's making you feel. Because again, you fucking don't, you as in all of us, by the way, right? This is constantly a part of my life as well. I've just gotten to a place now where my consciousness levels are very heightened. They're very strong, and they're only getting stronger and more heightened, because it's truly, I love spending this time with myself every single day. I can't imagine a day where I'm not, to dive deeper, into self and to learn. And there's a lot else that comes with this, right? But, the invitation here is for you to start doing some of this work, and to, start feeling your way to, what could be, not working internally in the mind, like, and digging deep, like looking deeper, like, where is this coming from? Is this a truth? Is this a pattern? Is this a program? Like, what's really underneath here? There's several ideas here, right? To ultimately, you want to get to this truth, right? When we get to the truth of something, then we have information that's valuable, and we can actually become more strategic and tactical about getting to a solution. Right? You might think on a surface level, this thing right here is bothering you. But when you do this introspective work that I'm talking about, you actually uncover, no, it's this shit from like way over here that was bothering me. But you're never going to learn that if you don't invest this time to sit with yourself, to be awakened in this state, like to really, and so you're not just operating from that program, right? You're actually being present with yourself, right? To then investigate from the non-judgmental, from the student lens, and sift and sort and ask yourself questions to get to this information, that is what I call the truth, right? And then from that point, your vantage point is just so much stronger to be able to, get you to a solution and to make a shift, to shatter a paradigm, to transmute an energy, and you might be feeling a very disempowered energy. Energy doesn't go away. Never, you can't break it. It doesn't end it. You have to transmute it. You have to pivot it. You have to just redirect it, right? None of this happens without doing the self-work that I'm talking about. So, it could be what's so interesting about these loops and these patterns that, people find themselves in a lot, like just I'm thinking about some conversations in my head where it's like, man, I realize that that's a habit for you. And you actually, there's comfort in that. And it seems so bizarre. Like, why would anyone like find security and have a, in this loop that's not making them feel good, How would that make them feel safer? Because it's certain, because it's what they're used to, You have to realize like that's actually what's happening, right? Because if you step out of that, and you're like, oh shit, I got to make a change. Like, here's the truth, right? I did this work, right? Roxy told me like they did it. And now it's like, oh shit, what do I do with this? That's not easy in a lot of ways, right? But it's the gold. It's everything. Because again, like you can either stay in your pattern, that keeps you not feeling great, not moving forward in your life, not, just living robustly and with vitality and creativity and inspiration. Like you feel fucking down, right? You can keep doing that, because that feels, you're not aware of it, but now you're consciously aware of it. But you've created a sense of security around it because it is so familiar to you. You're used to hearing yourself say these things. You're used to feeling this way. It like becomes a part of you. And that's how you get stuck in this sort of prison, right? But what I often share in my coaching practice and in, other facets of my work is that you have to realize that, all of us, right? I'm not excluded from this. The prisons that we put ourselves in are exactly that. Prisons that we put ourselves in, right? And the cool part is that if you can put yourself in the prison, you can also get your fucking self out. Like you have to realize that you have the key. So it's like part 1 is realize that you're putting yourself in there. Part 2 is realize you have the key. Part 3 is, I think, the hardest part. You actually have to use the key to get the fuck out. That's the hardest part. It sounds like the, great happy ending, but I will tell you, that's where most of the work comes in. And that's where people tend to have the hardest part, because doing the work can be the hardest part. But I always say, I bet so many of you right now can guess what I'm going to say next at this point, which is awesome because I actually know that you can. What do I always say, you guys, about doing the work? Like how much effort are you worth? Are you worth it? If it's a true fucking yes, and I really hope with all my heart that it is, well, then we got to do the damn thing. We got to do the damn thing, right? So, gonna stop there. Let all of that just sit with you. But again, I want to give you fucking love. I mean, all of it is always love, right? I'm passionate. I could be a little aggressive sometimes. It's always just honest though, truly. It's always honest. And it's coming from a real place of love and wanting you to live into your highest state of existence, for you to live robustly, for you to live with vitality, for you to live with creativity, for you to live with prosperity, with abundance, with opulence, with magnetism, like fucking joy, I want you to feel that in your life as a constant. I mean, I know we're all going to have days where we don't feel, these things, but those are just days, you want the overarching picture to be this, feeling and this frequency that is very, all of that. Right. And I stand for this self-work, that is the greatest agent to develop all of that in your life. But it's, I always say, like, there's no period at the end of the sentence with this stuff, right? It's continual work. This is a life game, right? This is self-mastery, self-actualization. It's a life game, right? So you got to feel worthy to do the work. You have to really feel, worthy to sit down and to make this time for yourself, with yourself, so that you can, do this work to get to the truth. And then, you certainly got to feel worthy, once you realize that you have that key, to fucking turn the key and get the fuck out. Get out. Get out. Slam the door, or don't even slam the door. Just fucking run. Truly. So I hope that this episode hit your hearts in powerful ways. I fucking believe in you. Let me just say that. I truly, truly do. I've been through some massive hard shit in my life. I'm always going through fucking hard things in a lot of ways, as an entrepreneur, as an artist, and as a path creator, as a very authentic individual carving out my unique path in life. There's always boulders on the road. There's fucking big walls I got to figure out, do I jump over this? Do I fucking climb underneath it? Do I, break through it? I'm just saying, it's par for the course. It comes with this shit, but I embrace it all with so much love, because I wouldn't want to live a scripted life. I wouldn't want to live an automated life. I want to live my heart and soul's expression. And I want you to live that too, in the most powerful state. So I'm sending you all so much love. Please let me know what this episode did for you in any area that you're able to connect with me. YouTube, Instagram, in the comments, in the DMs. Please share it up on your Instagram stories and tag me, Roxy Look, Black Belt Beauty. Please, please, please leave this podcast a 5-star rating review. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet on YouTube or any of the channels. But I'm going to start reading out some of the incredible ratings and reviews that come through, because they just mean so much, and I want them to live in, these episodes moving forward. So stay tuned, because you're likely going to hear one of yours if you take the time, and it would mean so much to me if you did, to leave a review. So I'm sending you so much love, so much fucking fire to get you to drop into yourself and to love yourself fucking hard, because you're worth it. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, you guys. If you loved it, please share it on your social. Throw it up on your Instagram stories and tag me. I'm at Black Belt Beauty. I am also at Roxy Look, RoxyLook. I love connecting with you guys. This is a conversation that I want to just continue growing with you guys. So if you feel inspired to hit me up, do so in that space. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by rating it and reviewing it via iTunes. It's such supportive help, you guys. It really helps the visibility of this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you in advance for doing that. And on that note, you guys, I'm signing off with all my love and always looking forward to catching you on the next.